Okay, good morning, Saumya. How are you doing?
Morning. I'm good. How about you? Lovely to see you here.
Same here. So far, so good. I think things are opening up after the 2020 that all of us went through. That's a good news for professionals like us, primarily in the space of HR and
True.
OT. That's interesting news.
Yes.
So I think just a time that you and me stand in the line and take the vaccine here and vaccine here. We go and tell them either Covaxin लगा दो या Covishield लगा दो ताकि हम set for the
Yeah. Or otherwise, you just wait for others to get inoculated, and then you're like, okay, I'm safe now because others are.
Lovely, lovely. So thank you for coming on to this event, Leaders and Libraries.
Pleasure and honor to be invited. Thank you so much.
Lovely. Before we get started and talk on a book, which Soumya, I think it's an experience that I had, and I want to thank you for giving me this. I come
Thank you
from a
so much.
background. I come from a background of very high spiritualism in the family, and I believe that एक पत्ता भी नहीं हिलता है without the ordain of the Almighty. With all the kind of belief that I come from, I think this has been a great experience of going through this book. Before we get into couple of concepts, because I want to put it on record here that the next 45 minutes of conversation, guys, between me and Soumya is an attempt to only even scratch the top. I won't
Absolutely.
even say scratch. It is just sliding through the top
True.
because
True
it's
that.
deep. You need a lifetime or more than that to be able to even explain what it is.
Correct.
Having said that, when the guest of the day picked this book, I was a little worried. I said, "Yeah, should I write back to her saying, can we change the book?" Then I said, "No, why? Let's look at this." Right? There is a probable apprehension that is it too into the spiritual zone and not into the space of leadership and management. But she gave me a lot of confidence that this book can beautifully sit into the space of leadership for all of us. Thank you for that, Soumya.
Pleasure.
And as both of us make a conversation and touch across a couple of thoughts, let me first have the honor of introducing the lady today. And I've got one, two, three, four, seven lines written, which is pretty interesting profile of her. So good morning, good afternoon, good evening to all the people who are going to listen to her from whichever part of the world you'll be sitting when you listen to her. Welcome to Leaders and Libraries. All of you listen to 33 guests talking about 22 powerful books in season one. And in season two, you have 40 illustrious leaders coming and talking about 40 books. And you have yet another guest today, Dr. Saumya Badgayan, a luxury professional strategizing into human behaviors and its ramification. That's how she defines herself. I thought that was a lovely one liner for an HR professional. She is general manager leading HR, corporate strategy, and IR for Gold Star Jewellery Private Limited, one of the leading and the oldest conventional and modern jewelry households of India. Please go to Google and check around it. You'll get more about what the luxury product is all about. She's a doctorate in space of management, and she's somebody whom you regularly see on forums and platforms talking on multiple subjects. But what came as a pattern that I observed was she talks a lot about disruption in the space of HR, digitization in the space of HR, changing dynamics of business and HR. That's a very powerful subject, which is important for all the HR people today who can no more be just a generalist. I think that's a great contribution, Soumya, there. A very bubbly and a passionate HR person that you can see, and you're going to experience this in the next 45 minutes. You're going to have a lot of laugh around this heavy subject, hopefully. Beyond all this, she's also a visiting faculty regularly in the B schools, including IIMs, and she helps people make a career transition in the space of luxury domain. That's marvelous work because that's an industry that many people don't know much of. And as you rightly said, being an unorganized sector, it's not the first choice for many aspiring professionals. However, somebody like you trying to make a change, hopefully should get more people into that industry, right? Beyond all this and beyond all this, Yesab, a fantastic statement I just gave about her, which looks good on a LinkedIn. But for Rajiv Narayan, myself, what loved and why I wanted her is she's a crazy book lover like me. Yeah, so thank you, Saumya, for coming on board and accepting the invitation. I'm humbled.
Pleasure. Pleasure. Pleasure.
Superb, superb. Let's get started. I'm rubbing my hands to create some heat here. And before we get into this book of the day, I'm going to start with the first question. Tell me, Soumya, how early did association with books start in your life? How young were you and how did it happen?
Oh, so that's a very interesting question. So I was the only child for 10 years to my
Mhm,
parents,
mhm.
and being the only child, I had this attention deficit syndrome. Though not diagnosed, but that's what I felt it was. So there was this family, and your surname matched them. So there was this family, Narayan family, and South Indians again, and Iyengar Brahmins. So they had three kids. So the uncle used to just give me a whole pot full of beads and
Uh-huh.
used to ask me, yes, iski sirf mala banao beta. So I used to just sit and start threading it. But that somehow, got me into a little bit of concentration mode, that I
Mm,
have to finish a task.
mm.
That was the task orientation. From there, he initiated to me to these Russian books. If you remember, with those cutouts
Oh,
and
yeah, yeah.
open, and then things just pop out,
The
and
dragons would come out, lot of stuff would come
exactly,
out.
and a little bit of movement here and there. So I think I was about three and a half. That's where my
Wow.
memory takes me to, and that's where the association with the books actually started.
Mhm.
And then it was, they were very generous people, very generous. So he was an IITian professor, the wife was also an IITian. So obviously books were the way of life for them. So
Mm.
then that is where, these small little steps took me to my interest towards reading.
Beautiful.
And that I owe it to them for initiating me to the book, to the world of books. And
Lovely, lovely.
then obviously, my Dadaji and all of them had huge libraries, because they were they were all lawyers and barristers and advocates of the world. So, and
Mm.
justices of the world. So, you always, there used to be a room where all these books, but they were law books. They used to be
Ah,
stacked, but so that the smell of the library in the house,
lovely.
that kind of and the smell of the books. So even today I don't like to read books on Kindle, because I
Mm.
feel it just misses those charm. I still want to have the physical book and
True.
turn the page and get, sometimes you get those moldy, misty,
Absolutely.
and those paper that have aged. So
Yeah,
they just talk to you, and then I have a lot of wisdom stored in me. Yeah.
true, true,
So
true.
that is the process, and that's how I got initiated into the universe of books, and into
Mm.
a lot of just thinking creatively, if I can say so.
Beautiful, bro. That's quite a long journey from the age of three and the Russian dragons onwards to the book that we're going to talk about today. That's a marvelous long journey. So tell me when you were transiting through this journey and the world of books kind of engulfed you and you realized the advantage that you had of being a book lover. How did books play a role in your own growth, Soumya, as a leader that you are today?
Basically, see, this is again a very personal opinion.
Sure.
So when you see something, a lot of books have been, now they have been captured cinematographically on the big screen, and you see them as movies also.
True.
But what I feel is that when I was reading the book vis-a-vis when I see them on the
Mm.
screen, I feel I did not imagine it that way. It was more of this way,
Right.
a lot of emotions that you get out of reading a book personally is
Mm.
very different than when someone else tries to project it on the screen for you.
Correct.
So I would say that books definitely helped me in creating a vision of my own. It's a very
Beautiful.
personal, a very personal journey that you undertake. And the second thing that happened with me, that somewhere, you are not bound by limiting thoughts. You
Ah,
become very fluid and very limitless in the way that you think. And you
right.
tend to think beyond what is obvious and stated.
Mm.
Something as simple as a hand gesture,
Yeah.
depicted in a book, you can think in so many ways.
True, true.
Sunrise could be thought of, envisioned in your mind in so many
Yeah.
different ways, and it actually could be depicted in just a very unidimensional way on the screen. So I
Absolutely.
think that's the difference that I got.
Absolutely.
And it has helped me in creating various, I wouldn't say a perception, but various dynamics to one single way of thinking.
Beautiful. I mean, that various dynamics is what that awareness of yours would have just expanded and amplified multifold, right?
True,
So
true.
nice, so nice. Lovely, lovely. I'm so happy to talk to somebody who loves the impact of books that they have. So I'm going to ask you, so many books you must have read over the years, Soumya. What made you pick this book? Was it just a recency effect that you were reading that book when it connected with you, or anything else? The book.
See, to be very honest, Rajiv, I've been through a lot of ups and downs in life, a lot of personal tragedies, and it was, something that I used to question always. Why me, God?
Mm,
And I never got an answer to it.
mm,
Someone would, and I've sat with scholars. I've
right.
sat with people from Jainism, sat with Islamic scholars. I've sat with
Mm,
our Hindu,
mm,
Buddhists and all. But at the end of the day, they all come back to one thing: it's the karma.
mm.
How the hell do I know what I did in the past life? So you want me to, correct this life without me knowing the past thing? And what is it? Whether I was an ant, a deer, a lion, or what I was in the past life, or was I just a molecule floating around? I don't even know that. So
Mm,
how is it that my past karma is actually penalizing me in my present?
mm.
So then I was always in this dilemma that what is it, and somewhere I just came across that this quest of knowing
Mm,
beyond the obvious can
mm.
only be satiated if I go back to the base of where the origin is. And by
Ah,
origin I mean the origin of everything.
mm.
So so that is where I went back, did a little bit of research, came to Upanishads, and my mom is like, hmm, समझती क्या है खुद को? Upanishad, शक्ल देखी है खुद की? I was like, yeah, mom. And then someone else like, convent educated girl reading Upanishads. It's just a fad, for the fashion thing she's doing it. I just read it. So I was like, एक तो ये था कि ego पंचर हो गया कि अरे I have to prove them wrong यार, I can't read all this. And second, जब पढ़ तो लूंगी संस्कृत में है तो how do I make it easier?
Mm.
Because I'm telling you, Rajiv, it's been 4 months and beyond. I think even more than 4 months. You read a chapter today, and then you go on to the next chapter, and then again there's a correlation. You go back.
Come back.
It's like a lot of back and forth that I'm going through, and every day the same sentence absolutely takes you to the new world. You know,
Lovely.
a new thought, and it's like, wow, this is what I was actually
Looking
thinking.
for.
So it is a coach and a mentor, but in a form of a book. It's telling you what to do. So Bible has its 10 commandments, and Buddhism and Jainism have their rules. The 13 and the 10 karmas. But here it is just that just be fluid, just be who you are, and enjoy and rejoice in who.
Right.
So
Lovely,
that's
lovely,
that thing.
lovely, lovely, lovely. This is so interesting because the quest that you had seemed to have got answered to a certain extent through this great book called The Upanishads by Ekanath Easwaran. And what a man!
Yes, what
Uh, and the kind of books he has written, from being an English professor to the book that he has written, I think is superb. And I completely agree with you, Soumya, that you keep going back and forth.
yeah, yeah,
Because I think you and me, we're just mortals to be even able to understand what Upanishads are.
true.
इसका अगर ऊपर से थोड़ा भी स्क्रैप कर लिए तो आई थिंक जीवन सफल हो
Absolutely.
गया.
So that's when I was thinking, मैं राजीव को कॉल करके बोलती हूँ, देखो भाई ये नहीं होने वाला है क्योंकि ये मैंने फिनिश नहीं किया. In fact, I did write to you. See, I have not finished the book because it is something that I keep going back and referring. And thank you for the encouragements that you gave me. That it's okay. You keep reading it, but let us just talk about it so that people come to know what it is all about. These are treasures that are just hidden deep down. If I can say that these are the pearls in the ocean which are yet to be
Yeah, yeah,
discovered
yeah.
by the new generation.
I agree. I agree. I realize, Soumya, that this conversation needed to happen because if people have not picked this book till 2020, I don't want them to lose 2021 and go and pick this book in 2025. I would want them to pick this book in 2021 after listening to you. That happens, I think, will be a
With
great contribution
responsibility.
from your side to people.
Yes, yes.
Yeah, lovely. So let's try to get into the first one, right? I'm going to keep it pretty interesting here. Uh, this phrase called desire as the ultimate power, right? Which he beautifully articulates in this book and picks it up from the Brihadaranyaka Upanishads, right? It's a very powerful phrase.
Correct.
How did you pick your biggest learning from this? That desire as the ultimate power. All of us
Correct.
have desires. We also want to achieve certain amount of power that we want in life.
Correct.
How do you interpret this?
So in the corporate world, we all are very power hungry. We all are very, driven by this, but we fail to understand what is the power, and we
Mm,
fail to understand what is the desire.
mm,
So, people have this very cosmetic appeal about this is my vision.
mm,
My organization stands for this. I'm
mm,
here to give a lot of happiness.
mm.
You're just trying to be in the me too business, but you're not
True. Yeah.
creating
Yeah.
a distinct identity of yourself. So when you want to achieve something, that means you're defining your destiny, and
Mm.
destiny actually originates from the will.
Right.
So the start point is, would you want to do something?
Mm.
When you want to do something, you create a desire innate in you.
Right.
This desire then
Mm.
culminates into an action plan, which is your deed.
Right. Right.
This deed then gets into, what your destiny is. So
Mm.
this destiny will decide your powers. So there are two types of powers. If just for the ease of understanding, one
Mm.
power is the very Gandhian power,
Correct.
very giving, you just come a very non-violent, very subtle way, but
Right.
still, having that great binding, unifying force. And
Correct.
the second is the power that probably Hitler had.
Mm.
I wouldn't say that this is right and that is right. I wouldn't, because
Mm.
circumstances dictated the way that they acted and reacted in the world.
True.
But at the same time, I would say that, there's another kind of power, like I was talking about Hitler, and he would, again, a short, petite man,
Mm.
holding he was not even a great, he didn't have a nice baritone, so as to say that
True. True.
people would stand up and just look at him and be in all awe. He used to look very funny. In fact, a caricature in the form of Charlie Chaplin also came
Yeah.
forward during
Yeah.
his
Yeah.
time. So, still, he could. And he waged the biggest war that the world could say.
True.
Yes, he did unify the world, but in his way,
Yeah.
but in his way. So, this whole will, desire, need, deeds, they are all fused together, culminating into what you want to project out as a power. The same
Right.
thing happening today in this corporate world.
Mm.
There are people who are very autocratic, dictatorial in the way that they lead. The
Mm.
people who use laissez-faire style, it's to each his own.
Right. Right. So what should young leaders pick from this when they look at these two words? All of us as young leaders are wanting to rise up in our own
Yes.
career.
Yes. So, would you really create that latch on? Do you
Mm.
really believe in it? So, when
Mm.
I'm saying, do you really believe in it, is that, do you have the fire in the belly?
Right.
And when I talk about fire in the belly, in today's world, there are three things that motivate a person.
Mm.
And I call them the three P's:
Okay.
Pesa, power, position.
Yeah.
Yeah, these are the only three things that motivate people to get into the other side. Now,
Absolutely.
I would say that if I take the three away,
Mm.
do you still have that fire to still do it?
Beautiful.
Would you still want to do it? So, this famous mountaineer. Okay, he said, he was asked as to, why do you want to climb Mount Everest?
Mm.
Melroy, doctor, right? His last name was, and he said his famous words were because it's there.
Hmm.
And he lost his life in his
Yeah.
last expedition. In the second last, he lost 7 of his porters.
Hmm.
In one he lost his brother. So there was a lot of tragedies involved, but still that fire, that because it's there and I want to conquer it.
Conquered. Yeah.
That power, that is the power. The power is not to say that, hey, look at me, I am all muscle and I can, push you to something. The
True.
push should be always towards creation and not towards destruction. So that is
Beautiful.
what I would also tell the young Turks out there, that this is a world of collaboration and not competition anymore. So the more
Absolutely.
you collaborate, the more powerful you become.
Absolutely. I'm so beautifully said, that even in the absence of those three P's, are these young leaders ready to hold on to that desire and finally reach back, right? Because
Yes,
one powerful sentence that I've read about mountaineers, they say every time we go to a mountain, we tell the mountain, I'm going to come back.
yes, yes, yes.
And they say that I'm going to come back is such a strong, powerful statement in my head that I want to come back. That's why many mountaineers keep conquering the mountain multiple times.
Yes, because it's like, you just get a high out of it.
Yeah.
So I tell youngsters also that, find your high.
Yeah.
That does not mean that you need to get into some sort of substance or some kind
Mm,
of addiction. Just
mm.
be high on life, because
Absolutely.
that's what actually takes you there.
Beautiful. Beautiful. I think this is very interesting. Very, very interesting. That takes me to the next one, right? And this is very interesting because this was one of the quizzes question that my daughter had in her school. So she
Yeah.
looked at me that where does this come from, and I could answer it correctly.
Uh-huh.
But let me ask it from what the author is saying, right?
Mhm.
Your Satyame Vijayati, right?
Yeah.
From Mundaka Upanishads. Most of us know that.
Yeah.
How do you see the statement from this Upanishad powerful enough to help you in your own growth and aspiration? That's the first part of my question. The second is, how did it help you?
Okay. So first part, how did it help me in my growth and aspiration? Okay. So the simple thing is, when you talk about Satyamev Jayate, that means that truth alone prevails,
Yeah.
or it is the only thing that keeps the winners.
Mm.
Now, when we talk about the truth, what is it that is the truth as per you? So,
Correct.
our truth, the facts, our truth, the expectations
Mm.
coming out. Is truth something that you're just trying to seek?
Mm.
So what is it that you would define the truth as? So,
Correct.
truth is nothing but something which need not to be
Mm.
actually, validated.
Right.
And that is why it is also said that at the end, the truth wins.
Ah, correct.
So the journey towards the untruth to unveiling of the truth. So it is the right end of the journey, or at this end of the spectrum, that unbox the truth.
Mm.
So for me, at many a times,
Mm.
when we are thinking about, like I said, my personal journey, not the professional, but my personal journey. When I was talking a lot about, why me, God, and it took me back to, something that Arthur Ashe was asked about, when he got AIDS, by one of the reporters. Have you ever wondered why you? He said, when I was winning my championship, I never questioned God, why me? So why
Mm.
do I question him when he did pass on this disease?
How lovely.
So, so it's where I am coming to, that where I stand today.
Mm.
This is the truth,
Mm.
the MOT for me, the
Mm.
moment of truth for me.
Right.
This is out of the experiences of my past,
Correct.
leading to my experiences in the future.
Beautiful.
But this is the present, and this is the truth.
Mm.
So it kind of creates an embodiment of being disassociated yet being associated to the cause.
Okay.
So this is what Mundaka Upanishad is talking about. And when it says that, now when we talk about the weights, when we talk about the knowledge, when we talk about any other thing, that is still the lower plane of the knowledge.
Correct.
The higher realm of knowledge is self-actualization, which also is what Maslow has been telling us.
True.
So see, all these modern theories have their bearing in something which is written thousands and thousands of years ago.
Definitely.
So this self-realization and self-actualization is the truth. What you are, what you desire, what you want.
So if young leaders pick up this book and read it earlier than what you and me read it, and realize this statement of the truth, how do you think it can reorient them in their own growth?
Rajiv, this would resonate with each and everyone in the way and in the stage of life that they are in.
Right.
For someone like me who is closer to the 50s, I would now be, I have crossed a certain stage, and I'm looking forward to the next stage in life. But someone who's in their 20s would still want to say, and look at it in a very different way.
Right.
So the book talks to you in the stage that you are.
Okay.
And then takes it from there on. So the young minds and the young people would, for me, the truth is that everything around me is settled, peaceful. If I can just talk to you about Vijay, Sadhguru's wife, and they just a little anecdote. I'm just taking a few moments from your time because this correlates very well.
Sure.
So they went to meet this sage who was sitting high up on the mountain, and the sage said that, I want to die as a yogi because throughout my life I was a yogi, and I don't want to die as a rogi. So probably this is the last time that we are meeting. So Sadhguru and Vijay, the husband and wife, are meeting him, and Sadhguru says, "What nonsense! Why are you even talking like this?" So this says, "Well, I gave you the answer right now." That got Vijay, thinking. And and she burst out in tears. And then when they were coming down the mountain, and he could realize that his wife is in a zone. So he realized this, and when they were coming down the mountain, they see a huge expanse and a beautiful view. And Sadhguru says, since she's in her zone, let me just take her out of it. So he stops there, and then he says, what a beautiful thing the world is. So Vijay then actually falls on his feet and says that I want to go in 9 months. He was taken aback because Radhe, their daughter, was just, I think, 5 or 7 years old. He says, we were traveling like, gypsies. We never had a house. Now I am giving you a place to settle down. We have a beautiful daughter together. We have a beautiful family. And now you're saying that you want to go. And he just rubbished it off. But she says that, what? Things around me are perfect. Now, coming back, what is perfection to the young minds?
Right.
Probably they are not married. So would you want to get into the next phase, or the phase that you are in? Is that perfect?
True.
Probably someone in their 30s may not have a house, may not have a car, but has a child. Is that a perfect phase, or the other way around? Right, in the 40s, you have your career, you have everything. Is that a perfect phase? So, there is always, and then, I keep teasing my mom, आपको मेरी भी शादी देखनी थी, अब मेरी बेटी की भी शादी देखनी है, उसकी भी बेटी की शादी देखनी है. When is this going to end ever?
Right. I think very rightly said, because what you said made tremendous sense, Saumya, that statement sits beautifully in that person's stage of life.
Correct.
And he or she can contextualize it beautifully and kind of make a change or reorient himself or herself. Very rightly said, because today as an entrepreneur, when you read this, my Satyam Eva Jayate for me is very different to the Satyam Eva Jayate when I was leading corporates.
Yes.
Right? in an attempt to establish an organization and move as an entrepreneur and do certain things very differently, coming out of a very, very strong desire that we spoke about earlier, this statement takes a different meaning in my own head.
See,
Right?
we were all so clued on, कि ये prove करना है, ये prove करना है, and वो prove करना became the truth for us.
Correct.
But prove क्यों करना है if it is the truth?
Absolutely.
That's what Upanishads say. Don't waste on what is futile. Don't waste your time and energy on what is futile. It is there. It will come out sooner or later.
Absolutely. I remember many years back, I'd gone and got a tattoo done on my left hand. I've got the name of my kids tattooed. This guy who was a tattoo artist gave me his business card, and there was a statement under that. And I remember this very strongly, almost 12, 13 years back. He was giving me gyan about what is tattoo and why should you have the emotion between your body and your soul to create a tattoo. I said, yeah, end of the day, it's just a small design. Isme itna gyan kahan se aa gaya? But later when he gave the card, he said, Rajiv, what do you want? I said, this is what I want. That statement in his card said, a tattoo design is always there inside you. It's just a matter of time for it to surface out.
Beautiful.
I said,
How wonderful.
Marvelous.
How wonderful.
I never thought a tattoo artist can sound so deep in the profession that he is in. Which is what I was saying. It's all there. It's just a matter of time for it to surface out.
We actually find gurus in any sphere,
True, isn't it?
Yeah.
You can discard him as just a tattoo artist.
Yeah.
But if you go to this card, you see him as somebody who can talk for hours on this.
Wow. Awesome.
Lovely. Beautiful. All right. So that takes me to the Kena Upanishad, right? And in that chapter, this particular statement of who moves the world, and all of us keep thinking we move the world.
Yeah.
I don't know who moved the cheese. Right? How did an answer to this question, right, kind of settle things in your head, Saumya? Your professional life or personal life, and the meanders and twists and turns that all of us go through. You must have had a lot of questions as you started when we
Correct.
the session. How did it help you settle few things?
Again, a very beautiful question from you, Rajiv, I must say. So, Kane itself means who. All right. So, Kena Upanishad actually talks about who is and what is behind everything that moves. जैसे हम बोलते हैं कि भगवान की मर्जी के बगैर एक पत्ता भी नहीं हिल सकता. So भगवान कौन है? Who is this? So is this an energy? Is this a source? In Hinduism, we pick three gods, Brahma, Vishnu, Mahesh. But then, is it beyond it? So when it goes on a deep dive, it came up with an answer. It came up with two answers. The mind and the brain. Usually in the corporate world, we show our muscle around saying that, I am the mover and shaker of this.
I love when you said that.
It's me. And it's like when you come to, think about 2008-9, the recession then, all the CEOs were like, boss, mere bagair kuch nahi ho sakta. This time around, when the COVID came and when it was all about the human experience, work from home, this, that, all nonsense started coming up, the CHROs of the world stood up and said, pata hai, HR, without us, nothing.
I know.
See, probably अब कुछ और आ जाएगा तो CFOs will say, without us, पैसे के बगैर कुछ नहीं चलता है.
I know. एक छोटे वायरस ने हिला के रख दिया सबको.
Yes, आप बड़ा ना भैया, सबसे बड़ा रुपया. The CFOs will start saying that. So, in this quest of, who? Not the CHRO hai, na CFO hai, na CEO hai, na CEO hai, who? So, if you do a deep dive, it is all of us.
Beautiful.
So the brain is actually nothing but an organ. It is limiting. Okay? Because that is why you say it is the cranial capacity.
True.
It is limiting. But mind, you can cross galaxies and universes through your mind because it's
limitless.
So that is what is moving. That is what is evolving. That is what is creating structures.
Lovely.
So you can't say, people say that Einstein's brain is preserved and, he had so much. No, we all are blessed.
Mm.
The part that we use more, it's a muscle, becomes stronger. So that is why you have the left and the right brain and the functions of it. And you are an artistic or you are a logical person.
Yeah.
It all happens because of the brain. Again, you're compartmentalizing it. But can you compartmentalize mind?
You can't.
You can win races. You can win wars. You can do everything through the mind. India and Pakistan, we say it was divided in 1947. Bullshit. McMahon line was done. You divided then in the minds of the Britishers. So this is how things have changed. This is how things have evolved. You can't say, so it is what it is. So, it is very easily said, जब शून्य में से शून्य को निकाल दिया जाता है तो शून्य ही रह जाता है. You take it away from it, it still remains.
True.
That is how you actually define a mind. It is limitless, boundaryless, and all-powerful. The power lies in each individual.
Beautiful.
That is how the Kane Upanishad talks about who is moving it. So in the corporate world, people who are sitting at the throne, as I call it, usually are under self-deception that it is they who are moving it.
Right.
It is not who you are moving it. Otherwise, we wouldn't have talked about the external environment affecting the internal environment.
I agree. Correct.
So it is everything plus you being one of the factors. But remember,
does this realization give you a sense of peace in the head, Saumya?
Absolutely. Because earlier the failure was yours and so was the success. Now you kind of, tend to disassociate from that feeling that you started enjoying the journey.
Will it not somewhere stop me from pushing myself?
No, not at all. No, तब आप वापस पहले, the first question पे जाइए.
The desire.
So if your desire is there, then nothing matters.
I agree.
So, if you are staying in an organization, don't say that I am not getting an offers. That is why I'm staying attached to an organization. It's your desire to stay.
Right.
Don't say that this marriage, I am not, it is your desire to stay in the marriage. इसलिए रोज लड़ते हो, करते हो, फिर बोलते यार बच्चों के कारण रह रहे हैं. Bullshit. You're staying because you want to stay in that.
Want to stay. True.
Don't say, what, इतना सब था यार मेरे पास, इसलिए थोड़े पैसे बच गए, इसलिए I bought a fancy ass car. No, it was your desire.
I agree.
So all your materialistic things as well as all your spiritual things emanate from a desire. So we as human beings keep fooling ourselves. You never fool others. You're just fooling yourself into believing something that you say, because of this, I am doing this. You're doing it because you want to do it.
Yeah. And you spoke about this, that we waste so much of time and energy in validating what we did, right?
Yes. Because at the end of the day, everything, right from the schooling system. Oh, come on. Let's forget about the schooling system. Even in the families, that cousin is more successful because that cousin has a lifestyle. And this cousin, and that's why it's perceived to be more happy.
Correct.
And this cousin who's living a little relatively, a mellowed down life, but is in harmony with the situation, so little बेचारे ने compromise कर लिया. अरे क्यों? So we tend to associate power, financial, well-being or financial health. I mean, at the end of the day, I ask people, how much money is too much money?
Beautiful question. Yeah.
So at the end of the day, I'm sure even Jeff Bezos and the Ambanis would be eating dal rice or whatever their, kind of...
2 meals a day or 3 meals a day, that's all.
That's it. And tum heere moti to kha nahi rahe ho. So how much money is too much money?
I know, I know, I know. वैसे भी इधर कहावत है कि 2 वक्त की रोटी, किसी ने नहीं कहा कि 3 वक्त की रोटी, हम ही तीसरा जोड़ के रखे एक्स्ट्रा.
Correct. So this is where I'm saying that in this whole mad rush to prove to the world, because see, all this is what a projection. जैसे एक हमारे उसमें बोला जाता है कि भाई जितना ज्यादा वाइफ डेक्ड अप रहेगी उतना उसके हस्बैंड का सक्सेस इज. इट्स व्हाट a wife is a trophy or a Christmas tree.
I love that. Christmas tree.
You put everything on her. तो नई बहू आती है and you just deck her up with all the gold in the world. Why?
Seriously, yeah, seriously.
Why? Because actually the family wants to show to the world, पता ये हमने दिया, ये अपने घर से लेके आई.
Again, desire.
Again, a desire to project something out. And ये घर से लेके आए मतलब क्या? ये तो आपके घर की हो गई है ना. So everything is of hers is yours and of yours is hers. So where is that binding factor?
Lovely, lovely. So with all these examples that you're giving me, what we're trying to say is the young minds should understand that end of the day, who moves the world, and I move the world का जो thought process निकाल के अगर if you bury it, right?
Yes.
I think you should be able to be more collaborative in the
More
world that we are.
collaborative, less competitive in the sense, I'm not saying that you take away the competition, because competition is very much required in today's world, because that is also something that is going to push you. But then create the right kind of competition.
Correct.
Don't create a sense of falsehood.
Yeah, yeah.
आप चीज नहीं कर सकते हैं, आपको पता, you know your SWOT.
Yeah.
When you know your SWOT, and I'm talking very base things here, Rajiv. I'm not even talking about, the Hayes matrix and things like that.
I know.
Very base things. So if you talk about base things, and if you have your values, your integrity, and your SWOT with you, you will always be on the right path.
Yeah.
Okay. Result is ultimate, is something which is not in your hand. But your path will always be right. You will get a good sleep at the night. You will want to wake up the next morning and go back to your desk to perform again. आप छुपोगे नहीं. You will not want to hide away from the world.
Yeah. I think that's beautifully. Thank you so much. I think the last statement was fantastic. You go to the bed, have a peaceful sleep, and you jump off the bed the next day morning to fulfill that strong desire.
Yes.
Which you initially beautifully said कि वो 3P नहीं है, तब भी would you want to do that?
Correct.
In my case, if you wake me at 2 a.m. and say, Rajiv, there's an intervention, you want to design, deliver a workshop, I'll jump off at 2 a.m. Though I would have worked on a content till 12 p.m. hit the bed.
Yes.
देखो बच्चों को स्कूल के टाइम में जगाओ, मम्मा 5 मिनट. You tell them today morning excursion. They're off the bed.
Absolutely.
कहाँ से आता God alone knows.
True. So see how beautiful, little examples from real life actually is what Upanishad has given a structure to.
Absolutely.
And they are actually wanting us to connect to these little things in life.
Yeah.
If anyone has a pet, the unconditional love that the pet gives you.
Sure.
It will still come, it'll jump on you, it'll lick you, it'll just, it just feasts on the energy.
Yeah. Beautiful statement. Yeah.
And we also as pet owners or pet parents, we feast on their energy.
We do.
Yeah. So that's the kind of thing.
Fantastic. I'm going to take you to these two words, which were also a little not as clear as it is now in my own head. Pleasure and joy.
Yeah.
How do you understand these two words from your own reading of this book, like I have now?
Yeah.
And how should the growing leaders in the corporate world also position this for their own organization contribution that they want to do?
Yeah. So again, everything in the organization, like the definition of the organization, is a group of people coming together towards a common goal.
Correct.
Very simple definition of the organization.
True.
Now, in doing so, people are made up of different personalities, very distinct personalities. We have the 16 personalities with us, sense, judging. So when you have these kind of sensing, feeling, judging, etc. kind of personalities with you, and you taking them together, on a journey, you will encounter two specific things. What is the pleasure? Now, what is pleasure? Individualistic, a pleasure is just a moment.
Okay.
It's just a dot. It just, in that moment, you decide something and it's done. It's like cake cutting, happy birthday to you, you blow the candle, that's pleasure.
Mm.
The joy would be recalling it in your memory and
Mhm.
saying that, you know what, that friend of mine had that kind of an eye contact with me, and those emotions
Mm.
were the best that I could capture because she meant it, that
Mm.
she was truly blessing me.
Mm.
That's a longer, sustained feeling.
Right.
And it is always etched in your mind, in your heart, and you are never out of it.
Mm.
That is being in harmony with yourself and with the universe. Pleasure is like you do a task, you finish a task, you find, pleasure in this, in happiness in this, and you're out. In fact, there is a third emotion, which is bliss,
Okay.
which is even beyond joy.
Mm.
You have found bliss, that means nirvana. Okay, you will feel that, I'm happy and I
Mm.
don't need a reason to be happy.
Beautiful. Mm.
I am happy because I have accepted
Mm.
that sun will rise at a particular time.
Mm.
Events in my life will happen.
Correct.
People will come. People
Mm.
will go.
Mm.
My life is my book.
Right.
People may be chapters, paragraphs, or
Mm.
even a word.
Right.
Okay.
Beautiful.
But that is something that I need to decide. And I need to find happiness in this. Just then, this is something that I live by, Rajiv. Just
Mm.
then, aankh band hui, was then, and I say this at this very moment,
Mm-hmm.
I have no regrets, and I mean it.
How lovely. It was so
So this
peaceful.
is something that I have, I
Well
lost
done.
my husband in 2014. So some people come in this say कि अरे आपके साथ ऐसा हो गया नहीं. I did everything spiritually, medically, religiously, everything. So get up at 3 a.m., go on a ghat, a woman going to the ghat and taking bath there, dipping myself in the water, and also at 3 a.m. changing his drips.
Mm.
But when you do all this, and today when he is not there, you kind of feel bliss
Right. Right.
because you feel that he's in a much happier place
Mm.
with his nana nanis and
Mm.
dahradis, and he's having his own nice time there till
Right.
time we meet again. So
Right.
that is joy, that is bliss. That is something that you kind of disassociate, and this is nothing that you're a cynical person, and no, it is something that you develop towards.
Mm. Mm.
It's a journey that you take. It doesn't happen overnight that what, suddenly I wake up and today I'm in a bliss. It doesn't happen like that.
Doesn't happen. True.
it
True.
is it is finding a harmony between what is and not thinking of what could have been.
Right. Could you take a minute to explain this from a senior leadership position that all of us hold?
So at senior leadership, there's a lot of speculations and risks that we take.
Okay.
Our single move decides the future of the organization
True.
and the careers of people.
True. True.
So senior leadership actually is under this constant dilemma
Mm.
of what if.
Mm.
If I, so had I taken this step, probably this wouldn't have happened.
Correct.
So whether there are scams, whether there are, like we all know what happened with the energy emissions that,
Correct.
the European company, I wouldn't want to name those companies because these
Yeah.
or a car aggregator where even though the person was not personally involved in the sex scam, but
Yeah.
was a privy to the party. So
Correct.
now if leadership gets into what if I could have done
Mm.
that,
Mm. Mm.
the self-blame, okay, then you tend to, get into some sort of, you get sucked into a quagmire of a darkness. It's a black hole.
Correct.
But if you disassociate and say that the same thing's still happening and you still come to peace with it, yes, I did not. I did not act in it. Huge mistake. Yes, I will pay a price for it, but probably I'm the phoenix. I need to rise back from the ashes. And that sort of mindset, I think, very few, that kind of resilience, very few of us have.
True, I agree.
We usually tend to get into that, and then you get into depression, this, that, and suddenly a beautiful leader you will see is somehow failing. Also, you see the spotlight is always on the leader.
Yeah.
So every move of the leader is being closely observed. As a leader, you need to again disassociate from, yes, people will evaluate you, people will judge you, but you still continue to do what is right for the general mass.
And that will give you the sustained joy.
And that will give you the sustained joy. Inside, the peace within you know that you did the right thing.
Yeah.
Inside you know that you did the right thing, and that is what gives you the power, to come back, to rise back, to fight back. Because business it is like a heartbeat, will go up and down.
It will. True. Beautiful. Thank you so much. I'm going to stop telling. So when I meet few people and after multiple meetings, when I have a comfort and I want to talk to the person, meet the person, and the person makes me feel good, I'm going to stop using the sentence pleasure meeting. I'm going to say it's joy meeting you. That's our staying for. I'm going to erase that. And I decided this yesterday. I said, I'm going to say this on this call, saying I'm going to stop this word. Lovely. Thank you so much. That takes me to the last question I'm going to ask you. With all this experience of yours, Saumya, of having 17 years in one organization, in a world where 3 साल के बाद people say, अच्छा इतने loyal हो तुम 3 साल 4 साल एक company के साथ रह लिए. 17 years is envious and very, very commendable. I think young leaders should pick this up. Jack Welch also talks about this, that stay with an organization for a longer time and contribute. And you're there 17 years. And you still very humbly said that I hope I leave a legacy. I think you have left over these years some legacy, I'm sure. सारा experience निचोड़ के अगर मैं एक glass में से उतार दूं, plus this book. Tough question. 2 razor sharp advices to the young minds.
So I would say that know yourself. What are you? What is it that you want? What is the mark that you want to leave in this world?
Lovely.
That's very important. Just don't exist. Leave a legacy. Leave something that people will remember you. इतने करोड़ों की जनता है यार, billions of people in this world. Don't just perish. So leave that sustained effect. That's one. Second is learn to disassociate yourself. And when I say disassociate, ना तो success आपकी है ना failure आपका है. So just you need to say, because अगर आप success के साथ ज़्यादा जुड़ जाते हैं, oh yes I did it, then you will continue to limit yourself there and not grow.
Okay.
And the same thing happens, failure, oh shit, I failed and I'm no good and this. And so when you get into that, you will again stay here and again not grow here. So you need to disassociate with these things. People will pass judgments. People will say things. People will come and say, all sorts of things to you. You need to disassociate. It's very difficult. Very difficult.
I know.
Very difficult because we take other people's opinions and judgments on us too hard.
True.
When we try to change, which is not us, don't change because someone else has asked you to. Change because you want to.
You want to. True.
These are the 2 things that I would really want people to undertake.
I think very, very powerful. Change because you want to. And the change that you want to is again connected to the desire that we started the conversation.
Absolutely.
वो पर्पस वापस नहीं जाता है.
पर्पस वहीं जाता है क्योंकि आप जब तक अपना पर्पस नहीं डिसाइड, जैसे मैं आपको एक सिंपल एग्जांपल देती हूँ. After symbiosis, people asked me, gems and jewelry industry में क्या करेगी? And then I have a gold medal also. The people said कि gold medal लेके gems and jewelry industry में क्या करेगी? पहले तो किसी को समझ में नहीं आता था. So my mom said कि वो सुनार की दुकान में बैठ के खट फूकेगी क्या? And यहाँ पर there were no people who were qualified. And believe me, they are absolute, very, very astute businessmen. They know their business. They are very sharp people, very sharp mind. The only thing is formal education नहीं है, क्योंकि जरूरत ही नहीं है.
बिल्कुल.
It's a skill-based industry. You don't need, But I said कि यहाँ पर I want to be the voice and I want to be the change agent. Now my purpose is that.
Beautiful.
So 17 saal se 17 years I have been in this industry because I've been given that freedom. I've been able to be that voice.
Lovely, lovely. I think all of the young minds listening to Saumya, guys, message is very loud and clear. Please figure out what is the strong desire of yours and change for achieving that desire, not because people around you are asking you to change. And it's coming from a lady who's as strong as you see, and she's been talking about this for the last 45-50 minutes. Thank you, Saumya, for this beautiful conversation. Honestly, I thought this would have been a tough conversation considering the book and the depth in which Eknath has gone into every page. But you made it very comfortable. You kept it light. Thank you so much. I completely enjoyed this 50 minutes of conversation. I hope you had a good time as well.
I did, Rajiv. Thank you. Thank you so much. Thank you for inviting me.
Thank you so much. So as things are opening up, my flying to other cities are going to start. So as I land into your city next time for work, I'll catch up with you. Till then, keep reading and have a good time.
Yes.
Absolutely.
Yes.
Bye-bye.
Bye. Take care.
Take care.